Hello and welcome back to the Board Who YouTube channel, and today is day 13, the penultimate day slash episode or slash review, whatever, of my 14 days of Doctor Who. It is the day before Christmas Eve. It is Christmas Eve on the day this should be coming out, the 23rd of December, and I'm going to review the Return of Doctor Mysterio. Now, I actually quite liked this episode the first time I watched it. I've always liked this episode. So going back into this one, it was a question of, does it still hold up, in my opinion? Just to briefly explain, yes it does. I think this is a heavily underrated special. I don't think enough people talk about it. I think it's actually quite good. And I'm going to try explain why and try and prove my point. So yeah, please hear me out. But yeah, to really go into this story, just kind of before I go into it per se, I've just got to explain that because it's about a superhero and that's kind of a basis of the plot. I am a massive superhero fan. I used to read comics. I mean, there's actually a lot of them piled up. You see that? I think it's the shelf. Yeah, the exact shelf I'm pointing at right now that my finger should be lined up with. That is all comics that I used to collect. Between the ages of 10 to 12, I collected a ton of comics, read a ton of graphic novels, and I loved all of them. And then I stopped collecting them because I had to subscribe, and I just couldn't be asked. But I loved superheroes, specifically Marvel. You know, I'm a massive superhero fan, and if you actually want me to do content like that, please, I might put a poll up right now. So if you, I've just realised it'll be there. But yeah, if you want me to do a poll, sorry, words aren't coming out right, but if you want me to cover content like that, which isn't Doctor Who related, tick yes or no on that there. So if you're watching this bit right now, please tick what you think, because if it's 100% yes and it's just one person's entered, I'm not going to take that as a full reading. But yeah, as many of you can answer that, please, that'd be really helpful. But yeah, I'm a massive superhero fan. I mean, I watched Spider-Man No Way Home last week, and I'm not going to say anything about that film right now, because if you haven't seen it, but it's one of my favourite films I've seen in years, and a lot of people cried at that film. I didn't, but I don't think I've left a film more happy in my life, because I was just so happy. I've never left a film more happy at that film, because it felt like someone had taken exactly what I think a character is and put it into a film, and it made me so happy to watch that Spider-Man film. But this isn't about Spider-Man, this is about Doctor Who. But I just wanted to briefly explain my feelings on superhero, media and comics in general, and that's my take on the matter. But yeah, this episode does kind of take inspiration from that with certain stereotypes, as the character Grant, who is one of the main side characters within this story, who is also the Ghost. His character is pretty much heavily based off Superman. As he has a lot of superheroes have a double life. Almost all of them do. But it's the fact that his love interest is also journalist Lois Lane. However, in this one, he doesn't work with her, he's a nanny, that's the difference. But in terms of his superhero base, in terms of what he does, his actual powers, it's very Superman level. He has God knows how many powers, he can fly and do everything, he's bulletproof. It's very Superman heavy basis. And I just, one thing I really like is the beginning to this story. It kind of pulls you in and you're just attracted to keep watching, that you forget that the titles haven't started rolling yet. Because this is, I think I saw a post on Instagram by someone, I don't know who, but it was very recently in the Doctor Who community, and I'm pretty sure they said that this was the longest pre-titles in New Who. I don't know if that is the case, it might be a completely different episode, but this is up there. Obviously not counting The Woman Who Fell to Earth, which doesn't have a title sequence, but we'll go on with that. But yeah, I really liked the starting, because it has a little bit of a comic aesthetic, as you see a shot of I think some scenes in the episode, and it's in a comic, which is really cool. I love that. And then you see Grant as a kid. You see his room, and it's full of posters, and I'm like, I want that in my room. You see how bland my room is? There is not that much. I'm planning to decorate it a lot more. I've just got this lovely present which I got a few months ago, which I got for my birthday, which I love. It's Arsenal, so it's a football one, but I want to get a good mix of all the things I like a bit of football, a bit of Doctor Who, a bit of other stuff, and I've got nothing in my room. But that kid's posters, yes, I love it, because he's got posters like Spider-Man and everything, and it looks really cool. But anyway, stop nerding out about Spider-Man. Um, it's a really nice way to introduce the Doctor, as the Doctor's just kind of hanging into this kid's room, and the kid lets him in because he thinks he's Santa Claus, which is just really nice. Because when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. He's an old guy hanging on this guy's and trying to hang out this guy's room on Christmas Eve night. It makes perfect sense. So he offers him milk and cookies, as the Americans would say. We wouldn't offer them that. I'd never offered Santa Claus milk or Father Christmas milk. I think we got him wine and mince pies, or sherry, yeah. So Santa definitely enjoyed that, and also we left a carrot for the reindeer, which was very nice as well. So yeah, I was very different to Grant as a kid. I was more helpful. I let the reindeer enjoy some of the fun, but I've really not talked about this episode. We're 6.5 minutes in. Let's just keep going. This is going to be a long review because I'm just very happy. I'm very happy about this story. But yeah, the Doctor is trying to talk to this kid, the child version of Grant, and he's explaining, all this science gobbledygook, which I won't get into. But the thing is, it's very reasonable what happens, because he hands the kid a pill just after giving him a glass of water and after explaining that he has a cold. And then he goes, here, pass me back the gemstone so I can turn the lights on to make this thing work. And then he goes, what gemstone? Do you mean the thing that you passed me? And he's like, I drank it. You said you were a doctor. You handed me a pill. You're like, yeah. And then he has a go at the kid. You're like, no, you're completely within reason. And this all happens within the 9 minutes, and it's just a very natural scene, and it's really nice to watch. And the kid suddenly has superpowers, and the way it's explained, I mean, it is just like Deus Ex Machina. It's like effectively it's a wishing stone. This is like a computer, and there's 1 in 4 of these things fractured from a supernova, in the universe. I don't know if that's the whole thing, but I remember the 1 in 4 thing. It's like a computer that will do exactly what you want. It will do whatever you want it to do, and it extracts that power from a star, from a dying star or something. And somehow he uses that power to get superpowers, because he's a kid and he reads comics, so he wants to be a superhero. I'd love to know what it would do to me. What's my deepest desire? Is it to be Spider-Man? Is it to be a superhero? God, no. Mine would be probably a lot more realistic. Mine would be like, have a great work ethic and actually get on with your uni work instead of, recording this, or be amazing at football. I mean, I wouldn't wish to be the Doctor, but God, I'd use the gemstone to wish Doctor Who into existence, probably. God, that'd be amazing. I'd love it if, Peter Capaldi just knocked on my door one day. That'd be amazing. But again, I'm getting distracted by this story, because it's a good sign that I've barely talked about this story, because I'm just mentioning little bits, and I'm 8 minutes in, and I haven't gone past the title sequence, because it's just a lovely little story. But yeah, also, last little thing before we get to the actual boggle down whole plot. At the beginning, when the Doctor sees the comic, he goes, "Hold on, let me show you something." Clark Kent and and Superman are the same person, and then Grant has a dig at him, and he goes, "Well, come on, Lois Lane doesn't know either," which is a lovely little bit of foreshadowing, because obviously his love interest doesn't know that he's the ghost, and the Doctor later on goes, "Look, you're really smart, how are you not getting it?" Which is really nice. But getting on to the actual story, I'm now going to get distracted again, because the character Mr. Brock is played by the same actor who plays Alex Hunter in The Journey for FIFA, in between for FIFA 17 to 19. Again, distracted. I'm talking about football now, but I find that really funny, because I actually never watched this episode. I didn't watch this episode live. I was busy on Christmas Day. It's Christmas Day, you can't always watch stuff. And I remember one of my mates, who isn't a Doctor Who fan but was just watching it because it was on, texting into my group chat going, "Alex Hunter's on Doctor Who," and I was like, "Oh God, is he?" And I was like, "Well, I'm definitely up for it now, because I didn't expect it to be good." And then I was like, "Oh, Alex Hunter's in Doctor Who, this is great." But yeah, he's fine in this episode. Nardole was then introduced, and I'd say Nardole, his worst performance in Doctor Who is his first, which is an awful way to start. But when you think about it, it's not bad, because he will continue to get better, and I like him more. In this episode, he's very bearable, his jokes land, and he's not just comic relief. He does have some serious moments, and he does challenge the Doctor. And he does explain his purpose in the story and his purpose in being there. Because for the view, you're like, why the hell is this guy back? Wasn't he like in some sort of robot suit at the end of the last episode? But it's explained that the Doctor took him out of Hydroflax because he was getting lonely. God knows why the Doctor picked him. I don't know. He just met him at the start of Husband's River Song, thought he was funny and thought he'll do. But, you know, there is a brief explanation as to why he's there. However, I'm pretty sure it gets contradicted later on in Extremis. But who knows? Who's to say? Now, we have the introduction of Ghost when he knocks on the glass, which is really cool, because it's just a very superhero kind of moment. And I love how he talks in a deeper voice. I feel like that might be slightly mocking The Dark Knight a little bit. I'm just going to keep talking about little niche references, and I'm going to go back. The name Mr. Brock. I don't know if it's what they meant, but I'm going to take that as a reference to Venom because his name is Mr. Brock. Of course, Venom, the actual man who gets possessed by Venom, or one of, is Eddie Brock. Also, there's another little niche reference when Lucy says to Ghost, "Go get him," and I'm literally in my head going, "You should have said, 'Go get him, Tiger,' because that is, of course, what Mary Jane always says to Peter Parker when he goes off and is Spider-Man and does stuff." Then, of course, you also have the Doctor saying the "great power comes great responsibility" line, which actually is incorrect, might I say. It's always said as, "with great power comes great responsibility." However, that's not the original line. The actual original line is, "With great power, there must also come great responsibility." That is how it was originally written by Stan Lee. But, look, okay, and No Way Home spoilers right now. No Way Home spoilers. Skip to this point in time if you don't want a bit of No Way Home spoiled for you. The actual line is first said correctly in a film in No Way Home by Aunt May when she dies. I don't know why I'm afraid to say it, because I've literally said skip to this point if you don't want it spoiled for you. So if you haven't done that, you're an idiot. But yeah, and I do like that about that film. I've actually talked a lot about things that aren't to do with Doctor Who, and I've not justified why I like it yet. But I still like it. I love this story. And tourist, I've talked about up to like the 15-20 minute mark. That's the thing. But going on, I like how this story flashes back to a point in his life. Like, it flashes back to how he's a kid and developing with his powers, and it flashes back to his teenage years as he's struggling with adolescence and puberty with superpowers, and it shows like his X-ray vision as a means to explain like why he loves Lucy. Well, not why he loves Lucy, but like the Doctor kind of visits him and recognises the name Lucy as, you know, the one that he looked at, because he's got X-ray vision and can't look at anyone because he sees everyone nude, which is funny but like quite sad. A sad way to grow up. When Lucy meets the Doctor and tries to interrogates him, and then eventually asks him for what he knows about Harmony Show and what they're doing, and he explains, you know, the entire thing and goes, "They're aliens. They're trying to colonize the Earth. They're trying to replace, you know, world leaders' brains and everything." I love how she doesn't dismiss him, because that's a very typical thing in Doctor Who. She doesn't go, "What the hell, you're stupid aliens." She doesn't say she believes him. She says, "I don't believe you're lying." So it's like, you haven't convinced me, but like, I believe you're telling the truth, which is a very nice way of doing it, because, you know, some people have a good read on people, and, you know, you wouldn't just come up with that entire thing on the fly. You'd have to be an incredible improvisation to do that. You also get little hints towards the Husband's River Song here, with the mention of the Doctor asking Grant, "How long have you known Lucy?" And he says 24 years, and he goes, "Well, of course it is." And you get a little music cue to River Song, and obviously he spent 24 years with her on Thrillium in that one night at Thrillium. And he's still fresh from that and still sad from that. And it is explained, obviously, earlier with Nardole that he's lonely. And that's why he took Nardole out. So he's clearly still fresh and struggling from that. And that is at the core of the story, because this story is not about the villain Harmony Show, which I think I've done well. This story is about, you know, relationships, love, dealing with life and moving on and, you know, enjoying it. And one of the last lines in this story is brilliant, but I will get to that when I get to it. Now, the Doctor actually makes a Grant promise to him when he's a kid: don't use your powers at all. Like, don't use your powers. Like, just be a normal kid. Just be a normal person. And when he mentions this to Nardole, Nardole goes, "Oh, I promise, like your Time Lord promised to not interfere," which is very smart because the Doctor famously has this law he should not interfere. And the thing that's funny is the Doctor's such a hypocritical character. He will bring it up when it suits him. The Doctor is an authority figure when someone else is interfering with time. But in every other story, the Doctor is interfering with time. Yeah, you see the Doctor visit the meddling monk, and I'm going, okay, the difference between you and the meddling monk is the meddling monk has an agenda. Genuinely, he's like, I'm a big fan of history, so I'm going to mix these parts of history because I think it should have happened this way. The Doctor will just visit history and become part of it, and I'm like, okay, you're both kind of doing the same thing, just one of you's like planning it, one of you is just running around doing it randomly. But, jabbing at the Doctor's kind of actual promise is correct. One thing I do love about this story is when we get to the point where Grant/Ghost is having a date with Lucy, kind of an interview/date kind of thing. He's only met the bad guys of this story once. He's met them once, which was just saving Lucy and the Doctor from them. And he's now gone on a date. So he knows nothing about their plan. He's not interrogating them, not looking beyond that. He's not an amazing superhero by what we see. He's obviously just a normal person with superpowers. Whereas at that exact same point, the Doctor knows what they're doing, knows who they are, and he's in their spaceship finding out what their whole plan is. It just shows and the Doctor doesn't seem like he's that worried. He's just doing it really easily. I really like Harmony Shoal's plan as well, as it's explained early that their plan is to, take over the leaders of the world, and they will come running to them. And the Doctor's like, no, they won't. But then, and also early on, the Doctor says they're all capital cities where they're placed. And it's pointed out by Nardole, New York's not a capital city, but all the others are. And Nardole's like, that is interesting. And it's later pointed out there's an actual reason for that, as all the capital city ones aren't going to be destroyed. However, New York will, with Harmony Shoal being the only building that will survive, as they will crash their spaceship into New York. Harmony Shoal will be the only building left standing, and therefore, with the oncoming threat of an invasion, all the world leaders will come crawling to Harmony Shoal, where they will easily have the option to take over for all the world leaders and colonise the planet, which is a very clever plan. Very smart. I mean, crash landing a spaceship in order to get, control of the planet. Maybe a snippet from Aliens of London, but from a very different angle. In this whole explanation scene where the Doctor's kind of in the spaceship on screen with one of the villains, I do like how he explains, it's not right now that we are going to crash it. It'll happen when the time comes. Because the Doctor instantly goes, aha, you don't want it to crash now. Well, and starts to crash it at that very moment, which is such a Doctor thing to do. I love that. Because, the Doctor's not, a superhero by, what you think. He's not the most intelligent, well, he is one of the most intelligent things, but he'll just go for the most bonkers, risky things. And he decides to just crash the spaceship. And to save him, he will, he calls on Grant. And it's a very clever way he does it, because he doesn't have his phone number or anything. He calls him on a frequency which only he will hear, because I think he does have superhearing. So he will hear it and, catch the spaceship, which is really cool. It's also a really nice moment for him to reveal his identity to Lucy, as it's clear, it's really obvious that she likes Grant for who he is, not just the superhero, and he's very much worried about it, but it really isn't that much of a deal, because she likes him for who he is, and that him being a superhero doesn't change anything. And it's followed by a really nice moment as he wants to put his superhero costume on, and she goes, look, I'll help you, and she just puts his glasses on him, because that's the real him. And it's a lovely little moment, and then they start making out, and the Doctor's like, get rid of the spaceship quick, which is right. And then obviously Mr. Brock, or the Harmony Shoal brain which has possessed him, says to the Doctor, you don't think this is over, do you? And the Doctor just goes, yep, Sonic's his gun. And basically goes, yeah, just the demeanour that the Doctor's giving is just like, you guys are just simple. This is a day off for the Doctor. He's just kind of been strolling in the background of the story, solving the villain plot, while we've been watching a superhero story in the main foreground, which is just really nice. And then the Doctor kind of explains, look, I've tipped off Unit, they're over there, breaking down your whole plans, it's easy. Now as well, when they show Unit, they tease a return of Harmony Show, as they see one of the unit members is, has like the flickery eyes and the half brain. And you're thinking in that moment, oh, are we going to get a third story? And I've just realised, well, we're not in the Moff area anymore, so we're not getting a third story. I'm like, where the hell is that lead going to go? A unit story with Harmony Show? I mean, for all I know, they might have done one in Big Finish, so if they have, please comment below and tell me. But like, that would be a good one. I mean, they're not iconic Doctor Who villains, but when you're setting something up, it's nice to see where it goes. We're now towards the ending of the story, and I've got to say, I love this ending. I think this ending is really nice and beautiful. As, Lucy kind of understands that something's happened to the Doctor, and he gets him to confront what happened, and he says this wonderful line. It's played with the music from The Forest of the Dead, from River Song's, actual death in Series 4, which is years before this story came out. I mean, 9 years before this story came out. 8 years. But, the line, everything ends and it's always sad, but everything begins again too, and that's always happy. Be happy. It's just a lovely line. It's a fantastic line. As the Doctor's still distraught, and yet he's brought up just this... It's art. I mean, Moffat does have this power to just come up with these brilliantly worded lines, and it's just beautiful, and it's worth to live by. And then after that, you get an actual serious moment from Ardal, showing that he's not just a one-note comedy, character, as he explains, what happened to River, and then explains that he'll make sure that the Doctor's okay. And, it's a nice ending, but that we have to leave on the epic kind of moment of Lucy asking Grant, who is the Doctor, and him going, Doctor Mysterio. And it's just a lovely little cool moment as the Doctor kind of looks kind of mad-eyed, staring at the TARDIS console. And yeah, I've kind of described the entire story there, and I love it. I think it's great. I don't think it's the best Christmas special. I don't. Is it one of my favourites? I've got to say, considering there's one left, yes, it's one of my favourite Christmas specials. It's in my top... Ooh. Is it in my top something? It's on my top 5. It's definitely in my top 5, I'm pretty sure. What am I going to rank it out of 10? This is really hard. It's definitely not an 8, because by God, I cannot rank it the same as End of Time and The Christmas Carol. I can't. Those are just brilliant. This is great, but it's not that good. I think I'm going to give it... I'm going to give it a 7. I think I'm going to give it a 7. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Well, I think it's really fun. I think it's a really good ride. I mean, it's not that Christmassy. It's barely Christmassy. It's Christmassy for like the first minute, barely, because the Doctor's mistaken for Santa. Besides that, it's not a Christmas special. It's just a fun little episode of Doctor Who. And as someone who loves superheroes, this episode does kind of reach out to me. I imagine if you're sick of superhero media, you wouldn't really like this one. But I personally find this episode quite charming. But yeah, that is it with the review. So, tell me what you thought of this review. What do you think of the episode? If you like it, if you dislike it. So, if you agree or disagree with my opinion, comment below. Tell me why. Also, if you like the video, then please drop it a like. Comment below also any other content you might want to see from me, as we're getting towards the end of this review series. So, I'm going to have to do new content after this. New and fresh content, not old Christmas reviews. So, yeah, talk about that. Also, if you do like my videos and you're not subscribed, then why aren't you? Please subscribe. You'll, get my videos in your feed every time I upload. Also, if you want to be notified when I'm uploading, ding the bell for notifications. Should be notified every single time I post a video. And also, I've got my Instagram, which was actually the original thing behind this YouTube channel. That should be in my description, which is at @the_board_Whovian. There I will post when I'm uploading as well, and I may post a meme or something or whatever when I feel like it. Besides that, that is all. So yeah, 1 day left of the 14 days of Doctor Who. I can't believe we've made it this far. We are very nearly there. But I've been the Bored Whovian, and I'll see you around. Merry Christmas.